This is the Troutbitten podcast.
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten?
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten?
Yeah, Troutbitten.
Troutbitten.
It's about trout.
Wild trout.
This is Troutbitten.
This is the Troutbitten podcast, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Dominic Swantowski. I'm the owner of Troutbitten and the author of Troutbitten.com. Welcome back. This is the Blue Liner's Bible, a 6-part Troutbitten skills series all about fishing small streams with a fly rod. So in previous episodes, we worked through finding the right water. We talked about dry fly tactics, nymph fishing, and now with episode 5 in this series, we're ready to tackle streamer fishing on small waters. So we're really trying to highlight the adjustments, the changes that we make to all of these fishing styles when we move from the main rivers up into the tributaries. There are plenty of Troutbitten resources that cover how we like to fish streamers. We published a 10-part streamer presentation series in season 14 of the Troutbitten podcast, and Austin and I really broke down in detail many of our favorite movements to a long fly. We covered the head flip, the crossover, the speed leads and lane changes, the slow slides, and many more animations or movements to the fly that sell the trout, that attempt to convince them that, hey, your fly's worth the effort, right? Come and get it. So I'm sure Austin and I will mention some of these presentations tonight, but we won't spend a lot of airtime detailing what sliding, leading, and head flipping really are because we've already done it. I left a ton of links in the show notes for the nymphing episode last week, as promised, and I'll do the same here for streamers. Remember that Troutbitten runs deep, and this episode, this whole series, is just part of the much larger project that we've now spent over a decade building into the resource that it is, from the website to the videos and these podcasts. It all just fits together. Our job this evening, then, is to highlight the changes we make or the different strategies we might have for fishing streamers in small waters versus the bigger ones. So my friend Austin Dando is here with me, and how you doing, bud? What's up, Austin?
Hey now, doing great. How are you tonight?
I am great. You're on paternity leave.
I am, yeah, 2 days in.
How many do you have? You have a month?
Yeah, I got 4 weeks, which is great.
Jeez. I want your job.
Oh, yeah?
I like my job, but yours seems even better.
I think yours looks pretty good, too.
Yeah, well, we both got good ones, but I didn't get
How much paternity leave does Troutbitten offer?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And is it paid?
No.
Oh, okay.
When we were having kids, I was a musician, and nobody was going to pay me to stay home and not play music.
Yeah.
That's neat, bud. Good for you.
Yep, it's good.
So let me start off by asking how often you choose streamers and why you might make that decision. Same as we did with the other tactics. What do you think?
I choose streamers in a variety of for a variety of reasons.
Okay.
Really love them when the water's up a little bit and you have a bit more depth to your advantage, maybe a little bit of color. Really love that. It's an opportunity to locate some potentially larger trout in those scenarios as well. You can cover a lot of water pretty quick with streamers. You know, if I'm not looking to pick apart a stream with dry flies and nymphs one day and I just want to move and see what's in the stream, sometimes streamers are a really good way to do that, just to get feedback. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll fish streamers like in deeper pools or really deep runs that I feel like I'm not getting an effective nymph drift through, or maybe I have gotten a good nymph drift through it and I'm not convinced that there's not a willing trout down there. Sometimes I put a streamer on to check out those locations too, but I'm really not fishing them when the conditions are super clear and sunny and low. I just don't seem to do well in that setup.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same, especially with the last thing you said. Those are not the best conditions. Trout are especially spooky, I think, in that lowest, clearest water with the sun on top of them. Yeah. We've talked about how small stream trout, the first challenge is, hey, don't spook them, because that's tough. If you're throwing something that's going to splash on them like that, and then really, if you're moving it through the water much and really kind of fishing streamers like I like to fish them, yeah, I think I'm spooking trout. Unless, like you're saying, you find the deep spots. So for me, I'll fish streamers on a small stream just because I like to. Yeah. We both acknowledged how much we like fishing dries. And my next favorite thing to do on a small stream, I guess, is fish streamers. And I've done it a lot. I love how it kind of calls to me to just be dedicated to covering water and just moving. And we'll talk about tactics and strategies and that kind of stuff here in a minute. But it becomes just a hike through the water. It's one of my favorite things to do when I know I walk, let's say I walk way downstream and I know I got to fish, pretty fast. to even make it back to my truck by dark or something like that, right? If I know I want to cover water, or maybe I've never seen this small stream before, and I'm just really excited to see, what's around the next bend and all that, because we'll get to this too, I'm not fishing every inch of water.
Right on.
Yeah, and I'm picking my spots, and I like how a small stream kind of asks me to fish streamers that way. And you said too, obviously, part of what this streamer podcast here is about is how we can find bigger trout. You can kind of sort through the 5 inchers, the 5-inch brook trout, or cutties, or whatever you have, browns.
Yeah.
You sort through the really small ones to go find that 1 or 2 fish that you could catch in a day, or at least locate. That can be a lot of fun, or if they're just not in there, it might be kind of disappointing too, depending on how big of a streamer you're using, what your real strategy is there. Are you really just hunting big ones, or are you trying to catch a couple smaller ones on the way too? We'll get to all of that. But yeah, those are my reasons. Our reasons are pretty similar there for why I'm going to fish streamers. And I do like it.
Yeah. I'll add one more.
Mm-hmm, please.
When I fish small streams in colder weather or colder seasons, perhaps, when fish aren't willing to eat dry flies, it can be really good streamer fishing. Let's say in the winter or late fall, early spring. Yeah. And that water's really cold. Sometimes they'll eat a streamer before they will, something else. So
yeah, I know.
It's good to mix it in.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about how, especially around here, it's kind of like they're on streamers or they're not. And it's really hard to convince them, hey, you guys should eat streamers today.
Yeah.
And if you fight for it all day, you'll catch 2 or 3, on our main rivers. What I love to do is switch over to streamers and have that 20-minute streamer rule that we've talking about a lot. And 20 minutes, 30 minutes, if I get no response, I'm just like, all right, there's no streamer bite. Yeah, I want to do something more productive. But on a small stream, I do feel like I can kind of make it happen a little bit more. And I'm not saying I'm going to catch 50 fish on a streamer just because I want to. I feel like I could probably grab 10 out of there, in a good day.
I feel like sometimes the chances are equal. At least on our freestone streams. There's some days, right, that are outliers where they're just on. Yeah. But a lot of times in deep winter, they're not.
Sure.
And I feel like I can do just as well on drifting nymphs versus maybe getting a few on streamers as well. So you never really can tell.
Right. And then you can combine the two and do the crossover, right? We're going to get to that at the end of this episode. So before we really get into the meat of all this, let's tackle a question. Thanks again to everybody out there who sends these questions in. You guys know, if you're sending them in, I almost always, write back to you, give you at least what I think about it. And we pick 1 or 2 to get into these episodes. Here's one, because once again, here's kind of a question I had 2 or 3 times since we did the dry fly episode. Austin, you want to read this?
Yeah, sure. Okay, this is through email from Mike Carnali in Easton, PA.
I've been there.
No, Easton's not too far away from my house. Hour and a half, maybe?
Yep. He's spot burning his city.
Yeah.
Jeez. Come on, Mike.
Mike writes, Dom and the Troutbitten crew, I found your podcast about a year ago, and I'm working my way through every episode. Hey now. As much as I like the conversations, your skill series are exactly what I need, especially for this small stream fishing series, because I have a lot of waters like that around me that I've never been good at fishing. I already picked up some great ideas, but I have a question on your dry fly setup. Why is the leader so short? I've seen other advice to use a standard 9-footer and then add some tippet. I'm a decent dry fly fisherman, but I tried your 7-foot leader, and I'm having a hard time getting any drift on my dry flies. What do you think I am missing? Thanks, Mike.
I don't think Mike's missing anything necessarily, but I don't know how much time he's put into it. I will say, for me, the leader is that short, 7 feet. It's not extremely short, but that's pretty short for a leader. Fair enough. Mm-hmm. It is that short so that I can have fly line out of the guides, and that fly line can do what it's supposed to do, the work of pushing the leader and the fly to the target. I don't like having 1 foot of fly line out of the guides and trying to just cast leader. Not with a dry fly. Now, we fish mono rigs, and you and I are good at casting mono rigs, but that's not what I want to do with a dry fly, especially in tight quarters. I want to create tight loops, good energy, powerful casts, snappy casts that'll give me great accuracy going onto the limbs, like we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That can only happen when you have 3, 4, 5, preferably at least like 5 feet of fly line out of the guides. I had another guy ask me just yesterday through email again. He was asking a very similar question. He said, how much fly line do you have out of the guides when you're casting? I was like, well, it depends, right? Everything is relative, conditional. I can't tell you. But I said, I want at least, like I said, 3, 4, 5 feet, 2 feet. Come on. You don't have much to work with there. That's my main reason for keeping that leader short. He says he's getting really short drifts, and no, he didn't. He said he's having a hard time getting any drift on his dry flies. You got to adjust the tippet section. We worked through that 2 episodes ago on how to adjust that leader, but dig into the other resources.
Yeah.
You know, the other Troutbitten resources are going to, teach you how to lengthen that tippet if you're not getting what you need. But if you lengthen it too much, it's not going to turn over right. What are your thoughts? Since 2006, Yeti has been building products for anglers who fish hard and share an addiction for the woods and the water. Yeti changed the industry with their legendary coolers by featuring rugged but simple designs built to last for generations and stand up to whatever Mother Nature might bring. Yeti now takes that same functional and elegant design to everything in their lineup, from soft coolers to drinkware, bags, and more. Introducing the Easy Access Ranchero Backpack. It's the latest to join Yeti's lineup of tough-as-nails bags, and it's another part of my fishing gear that keeps me organized and ready on the water. The Ranchero Backpack features a cutting-edge rip-zip opening, so you can quickly tear the bag open to see the gear you need in just seconds. With smart internal organization, there's no more digging through your backpack for tippet spools or fly boxes. And for even more convenience, a handy vertical zipper allows you to grab gear at the bottom without having to unpack from the top. Get in, get out, and get going. Check out the Ranchero line of backpacks at yeti.com or find them at a Yeti retailer store near you. Tactical Fly Fisher was founded by Fly Fishing Team USA angler Devin Olson to bring anglers cutting-edge gear and techniques inspired by the World Fly Fishing Championships. Tactical Fly Fisher's goal is to supply you with the latest and best fly fishing gear and to help you learn how to use it through their videos and books. Whether you need flies, fly tying supplies, a new rod or reel, or any other fly fishing equipment, they've got you covered. Check them out at tacticalflyfisher.com and use the code TB15 to get 15% off one order, excluding rods, reels, waders, and boots. Visit tacticalflyfisher.com.
Yeah, right away, I agree, want the fly line out of the guides. So, if you have a 9-foot leader and you add some tippet and you end up at 12 feet and you're on a small stream, well, you're going to be tight line dry fly fishing the whole day long.
Right, exactly.
So that's why we want the power of the fly line, right?
Yeah.
But besides that, the last part of this note says I'm having a hard time getting any drift. I'd wonder how much drift he's looking for.
Right.
Are we looking to get 10 feet of a drag-free drift? Or is there expectation that we're going to get in and get out? Because that's really what this style of leader and this style of small stream fishing is that we're talking about. Pretty quick presentations, short presentations, and working into our spots rather than trying to get one long drag-free drift through the whole spot.
Yeah.
You may also just have to get used to how to put some slack in this leader too.
Right.
With a shorter leader, it can be easier to turn over sometimes and straighten out faster, especially if it's not like a bunch of fine tippet at the end that can really float down to the water and create some curves for you, even if you're not necessarily trying. So this does take a little bit more intention to get it to do what you want. So you'll get it.
Yeah, there's less forgiveness to the whole thing. It's just another example of what we're saying. Small stream fishing in general is going to challenge you. It's going to help you to refine not only the casting, but here we're talking about, within the cast, how to deliver slack, in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. And you don't have, again, much forgiveness. 7 feet versus a 12-foot leader, you just don't have much room for error. And you are going to have to mend, maybe as soon as it hits the water, if you're in cross currents and things like that. There's a lot to it. Yep. You made a good point. Don't expect too much. We addressed that. We said 4, 5, 6 feet, good. 10 feet,
great.
Wow, great. Assuming you're on a small stream that is fairly high gradient and currents are coming down through there. That's it, man.
Yep.
It's going to challenge you.
Yep.
But keep aiming for those dead drifts. I kind of am glad that Mike pointed that out. He knows he's having a hard time getting the drift. Well, it's good to recognize that. It's not good enough to just put the fly in the water.
Right.
You know, you're going to have your days, your places, your streams where you're like, man, it didn't matter. I just put my fly in the water and they were eating it. Well, okay, that's pretty unusual even for eager trout.
Yeah, good deal.
It's not always easy. All right, like we said, streamers might be your best bet for really targeting big fish in these waters. But let's talk about big trout for a moment, like in general. This is something we wanted to talk about in this small stream series. So let's talk about it now. Is this something that we should expect from small streams? Or let's say, how frequently would we expect it? Is it common? What are your thoughts?
In my experience around this part of Pennsylvania, it's not common.
No.
When you do run into them, it's a pretty monumental thing, in my opinion.
I know.
There's certain there's certain conditions that allow for big fish to grow in small streams with any sort of regularity.
Sure.
And our freestone streams aren't necessarily super fertile, with a bunch of great feeders going to it, with a lot of room to move up and down and get big and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. You and I both know mostly what's in the main rivers and the small stream rivers within like 100, 150 miles of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like pretty good radius is the way I think of it. You know, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying I know every inch of water by any means. And then things change. Okay. There's big fish to be found, but they're not nearly as frequent as they can be in other places. We've talked about, you know, big fish and where to find them and the validity of big fish and things like that before. And I'm going to point out again, if the big fish out of a small stream is a common thing, it's very unusual. And it's probably what we call a setup. It's being influenced somehow. Now, this is a state right here, Pennsylvania, that tends to stock a lot of fish, probably where they shouldn't be stocked. Hey, PA Fish Commission, will you please stop stocking over wild trout? That'd be nice. Yeah. It'd be nice to know that any wild trout stream that we're fishing, oh my, wow, this is great. I caught a big one. This is a legit, wild, born in the stream, wild
Great point.
Trout.
Great
it's not always that way. And I have, you've talked to people too. You've seen pictures and they're very excited. Look at this trout I caught. I was on this small stream. And you see it and you're like, that's not a wild trout.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. It's a trout. And there are places where you could be fishing in a club, downstream of a club. And by that, I'm talking about places where they stock fish, feed fish, which maybe both. And then they're influenced, right? So a lot of times, let's say you got a buddy or a friend of a friend who he's just hammering big fish and he's showing off these pictures. I'm not even saying it's not legitimate. What I'm saying is just understand what it is. If that dude's having fun, excellent. You want to go have that same amount of fun, excellent. Go do it. Just understand that it is a unique situation. It is not common. So if you're on your backyard stream and you cannot find fish like that, it's not your fault. It's that you don't have a setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm also not trying
Yeah.
artificial setup. I'm also not saying by any means that every big trout out of a small stream is an artificial setup. Not at all.
Exactly.
I mean, our buddy Matt's out there in Montana, and he does quite well on small streams, and they don't stock them. You know what I mean?
Right. Our experience here, our perspective is Pennsylvania based.
Yes.
And for the reasons you mentioned, we have a lot of stocking both by the state and privately that we don't know about that happens along these small streams, cabin owners, all sorts of funny stuff that ends up in there sometimes. But to your point, there's also plenty of places in Pennsylvania that will have large trout. And sometimes they're not there all year long.
Right.
I think it's important to mention that these trout sometimes are migratory. So they might move down into the main river when it's cold enough, or for whatever reason, they go and live there through half the year, and then they come back up into these cooler tribs in the summertime or to spawn or something like that. You're not always going to run into them. So you got to have an idea when you approach these places, the time of year, if that's your intention.
Yeah.
And if you do see them, keep track of the time of year.
Right.
Because that might mean something.
I think that migratory thing is one of the coolest things to understand. And boy, does it take a history with a place to really start to understand perhaps the migratory habits of these fish. And you could have, like you said, especially because of spawning, if the right gravel isn't in the main stem, they'll go up, bigger fish will go up into those small streams. we don't target them while they're spawning, but then they'll
Right.
be there in December and January and whatever, maybe even into the spring. They haven't dropped back yet into the main stem. And it's a really cool thing to understand the migratory habits of trout. I can't say that I've ever been able to tell you like, oh, in this stream, this is exactly, where they're going. And then they're going to drop back down and then they go out into the bottom part of the big river. I can't say, I'd love to have trackers on trout and be able to tell you all that stuff, right?
I know.
But as much as I've fished, I've never seen anything like that I can say definitively, right? And you hear rumors of this and that. Anyway, follow those rumors, right? And when you do see signs of big trout, or, if you're fishing and you kick one out, or you turn one over, or you catch one on a streamer, boy, don't forget that, right? And I think we're both recommending like pursue the wild trout, right? And then you can really learn something about the habits of those trout, not the oddities of somebody feeding them upstream or whatever, right?
Yep.
Is what it is.
And in those natural environments, it's a low yield game.
Yeah.
So if you're going out there looking for a big trout, may have to go a lot of times so you can actually find out what's in there, because you could easily pass by big trout without knowing it too. So don't be discouraged. It's not easy.
Yeah, they can be in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So specifically about big trout, let's say that you got a pretty good idea, or at least a lot of hope, that this next small stream has them. And by that, like you said, it's still going to be low yield, but you got a shot at high teens, even 20s.
Yeah.
In inches, of a trout. So what do you think are the best tactics for that, pursuing those fish?
Right. I go into a mode of covering water and just moving upstream. And sometimes too, I'm going to spend extra time in the best looking water.
Right.
If I'm a big fish, what's going to call to me? Times like this time of year right now where streams are a little lower, big fish are pretty limited in where they can choose to live.
Very good point.
And if you're looking to locate some big fish, well, probably go to the deepest runs because they're going to be the dominant fish. And the same thing could happen in every other month of the year. But I really like to target that prime stuff to say, well, if there's a big fish in a small stream, it's probably going to own its own little area. And I'm going to target those. It's funny. It just popped into my mind, but I've mentioned Joe Humphreys a couple times during the series already. But he was talking about fishing small streams in one of his videos. And I haven't necessarily proven this to myself yet, but he's talking about, if you start at the bottom of the pool and you catch a small fish, that means the bigger fish is at the top of the pool, right? Vice versa. That's his idea. And I've always kind of kept that in my mind, that in a smaller stream, some of the larger, more dominant trout are probably holding down their own areas. So where are the good looking spots?
Well, have you ever heard this one? If I'm going upstream and let's say out of every likely A spot, every piece of prime water, I'm catching 2 or 3, average size, brook trout or small brown trout, 8, 9, 10 inches, having a pretty good day, right? And then you get to another really good looking spot. You can't catch anything.
Yeah.
You don't move any fish. It seems like there's no fish in there. Then you've probably heard the story. Well, there should be one big one in there, and he's the boss, and he's not letting anybody else in that hole, or he ate everybody else in that hole, right? And I pretty strongly believe that. I think that's the case.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's turned out to be the case, I don't know, a few times in my life, and it reinforces that, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've got a bunch of big fish out of small streams. It's probably maybe double digits. And again, I'm talking 18, 17. I'm going to bring it down to 17 so I can have double digits. 17, 18, 19-inch fish. I think I've only ever caught 2 that were over 20, and their legitimacy as far as not being stocked is a little questionable.
Yeah.
At the time, I remember thinking like, oh, wild trout, wow.
All right.
And then later on, you go, I bet that might not have been what I thought it was,
Yep.
Well, anyway, it's the way it is in some places. Yeah.
You ever walk into those pools after you fish them? Like, let's say it's just a really deep bucket. You're like, nah, something's going on here. And see if you can kick one out.
Yeah, and then if you don't kick one out, I still don't think that means that they weren't necessarily in there.
I'm still not convinced either.
No, because they could have gotten out of there.
Yep.
Or, man, you've seen fish actually just hold until you seriously touch them, bump them with your foot, and then they go.
Yeah, and they could be right up into the bank, and you still wouldn't know they're there.
Yep. under a log, to the side of the log, in between a log and a rock. They will hold wherever they want to.
I found sometimes that the big fish size can be somewhat relative to the stream. And I know we're talking about actual, we're calling 18, 17 plus.
Yeah.
But in those scenarios, like in a deep bucket or a deep run, sometimes I'll find a 12-inch fish in there. That's the dominant trout.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
That you've been catching 5 and 6 inches all day. You're like, that's twice as big as anything else I've caught. And it was holding down this spot. So,
well, I'm glad you brought that up. We usually define our terms, right? So we didn't do that. Let me say,
good point.
We're not talking about catching 17, 18, or 20-inch brook trout. Not eastern brook trout. You're not doing that. Nobody's doing that. Okay. Don't believe anybody who tells you that story.
Yeah.
Since 2010, Smith Creek has designed innovative guide tough gear for serious anglers. Introducing the new Fly View chest pack system, Smith Creek's most advanced accessory yet. Built from marine-grade aluminum and lightweight PE foam, the Fly View is rugged, modular, and made to keep up with you on the water. Fly View's lid features a built-in 3x Fresnel magnifier, giving you a clearer view when you're tying on fine tippet, especially if your eyesight isn't quite what it used to be. With 5 swappable tray styles and an external lid patch with a magnetic fly holder, the Fly View chest pack can comfortably hold well over 100 flies, all in easy reach. Spend less time tying and more time casting with Fly View. Visit them online at smithcreek.co for more information. So I want to tell you about Tajima Direct. They make the best polarized lenses on the market. Tajima gives me perfectly clear vision and more detail with less eye strain, so I see more fish. The process is simple. Take a pair of your sunglasses and send them in to Tajima. In short order, you'll get your frames back with your choice of lens tints that are specifically designed for fly fishing. With both prescription and non-prescription, Tajima's patented lens technology results in the best lenses I've ever worn, including every top brand out there. So I wear polarized lenses all day, every day, on the water. And I've been rotating in Tajima's brown 15 green mirror for average light days and their yellow-green 40 silver mirror for the cloudy low-light days that I love to fish. I can tell you that for me, having Tajima's prescription lenses in the right lens tints has been a game changer. I put my glasses on and I don't think about them again until the end of the trip. Send in your own frames today. Visit tajima-direct.com. That's TAJIMA-direct.com. Upgrade your lenses and see what you've been missing. We're talking about here where there's brown trout. Now, we've said like half of our streams, half of my small stream fishing is for brown trout. A lot of times a mix of browns and brook trout. And inevitably, it's the brown trout that are the big dominant ones. And again, to find a seriously wild but really big trout in this area, it's pretty rare. But it's a real special event, Yep. Then again, it's not that rare as far as, let's say, river time with the right tactics. And I'm going to bring this up. I said that I like fishing streamers probably second most to dry flies. But I bet I've only done it 20% of the time. It's like 20 and 80. I nymph too. But I've spent so little time fishing streamers compared to how much I love fishing those dries and the times of the year that I'm on the small streams. I've dedicated most of my small stream fishing to dry flies. And when I've done streamers, I do it like we're talking about. And I have hundreds of days fishing just streamers and stuff like that on small streams. So I feel like I can speak to it and give you some experiences about it. But I feel like if I would dedicate even more time to it and really cover water like we're talking about, also do it with some of the knowledge that I have about how to present streamers better, which I've learned more over the last 10 years. Every year, every time you're out, you're going to learn something. I'm better at it than I was. And I would like to have the time really to just dedicate like a full season to, I'm just going to fish streamers on small streams and maybe be even more surprised what comes out of some of these waters where we're saying, oh, they're really rare. Maybe they're not quite as rare as we think. I like to have that hope, Austin. Keeps me motivated.
You need that. You don't catch them very often.
You and your little nets.
I know. The little nets. I could feel it coming.
So when I'm out there catching those big ones, no, I'm really searching. If I'm after a bigger fish, I'm looking for any response from a bigger fish. I think you want to look at it that way. The reward is just finding one. And boy, you'd love to have it. You actually eat your fly, but at least you know it's there. And then you have more hope, like I said, that come on, if there's one, there's probably a couple within a mile.
That would be nice.
Right? Right. Keep covering water. Believe
Yeah.
it. It's a low probability game. Surrender to that, but enjoy it. It's a cool thing. If you really dedicate yourself to it, I think you're going to turn some things over.
Yeah, and it's not just the big trout that are going to go for your streamer too. Like
That's a good point.
any decent sized trout is fair game, depending on the size of the fly, or at least you're going to get a look from some smaller
Yeah.
trout. What do you think? Maybe 6-7 inches or more, you can start to get some hookups going there.
Yeah. Well, that depends on the size of the streamer. And we're not saying either that it has to be a streamer to catch a big trout.
True.
We'll get to that in a little bit, but I just want to point that out. But yeah, this is the streamers episode. And if I really want to target bigger ones, that's often something I'm going to do. But yeah, you're not going to, if you are fishing a 4-inch streamer, I don't think you're going to catch a 6-inch trout very often, right? But if you're fishing a 2-inch streamer, absolutely. Those 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, they'll go for them, I think, pretty regularly. If they're eating nymphs and dries, they're probably going to take a swipe at that 2-inch streamer if you present it right. Now, that's a pretty small streamer.
And I want to go back to just the idea of covering water and really focusing on the prime lies. And we're going to pick our spots accordingly. And the goal is to not dilly-dally, as Sloop used to say.
Yeah.
Don't dilly-dally. So you're going to move upstream with a pace and with an intention to cover all the best-looking water. You can put a cast in some of that B and C water, while you're going through, but really we're focusing on those prime lies. And
right.
in these scenarios, the first cast always matters most on a streamer. We talk about that, but even more so in a small stream, because there's very little room for error. And oftentimes when that streamer lands, it is either going to make a decision to eat or to flee, that kind of fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And
good call.
It's rare that you're going to keep putting presentations over and over and again in some of these smaller streams with a streamer fly that maybe is bigger than something they're used to seeing, and expecting them to change their mind all of a sudden. So that's why we just continue to move upstream and put good presentations over fish to maximize our opportunities.
Yeah, next opportunity, next bend, the next piece of A water. You said it well about that B and C water. If there's a lot of it, I'll get up on the bank, whatever. I'll just move past a lot of water, not even give it any casts. But if I'm, if I got my eye on something that's 30 yards ahead, and that's A water, and I got kind of the nondescript, hey, they're probably not in this stuff. I'll just keep moving as I cast, and you're gonna occasionally pick up something, or at least get a flash, or you're gonna get some knowledge, more than occasionally, probably often enough to tell you something. Yeah, give them a chance. Give it a chance, especially until you get enough feedback and you can say, boy, they really are just eating in that A water. Yep. You said, too, about that first cast, and I guess I keep going back to the idea, like, these trout are usually more sensitive to our presence. I just feel like they're, like, aware of us more, like, being in their home. It's a small space, comparatively. It's not a bigger river. It's a small river. They know it. They can probably see from bank to bank. Perhaps the waves are more compressed. I mean, our waves, our waves of moving upstream and the sounds that we're making, our disturbance in the water just kind of carries more. I don't know, man. They're more sensitive. So I brought up the size of the streamer. I said 2-inch streamer, 4-inch streamer. It's not very often that I'm going to fish a 4-inch streamer on a small stream. If I was hoping to catch a 2-foot trout, I probably still wouldn't fish a 4-inch streamer. I have them. I usually don't have them in my small stream selection. Let's talk about flies then. I'm not shy about split shot at all.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And so I'll use split shot with unweighted streamers, split shot as supplemental weight to weighted streamers. But I will say on small streams, for whatever reason, I usually just stick with weighted streamers if I feel like I need that weight. And I kind of feel like that weight is the most defining feature in the streamer. Now, we talked about this in the streamer presentation skill series, season 14. So we won't get into it too much, but I do want to bring it up here because I do think it really affects the presentation. And I am going to make, well, like I said, I rarely use split shot on small streams. That's a change.
Of course.
And I'm thinking about it more.
Yeah. It all depends on what you're looking to do and the water that's in front of you, of course. But the weight will define, how fast it sinks, how slow of a retrieve you can or cannot have,
Right.
how fast you must retrieve it based on that weight and that speed of water. For my small streams around me, it could be 6 inches deep or it could be a 3-foot hole, right? And I'm going to fish those pieces or those stretches very differently. And let's say I want to conceal my presence and I want to bring a streamer down through a longer run, and let's say it's 10 inches. I'm not going to fish a super heavy streamer because I'm going to have to rip that thing through the current in order to get it back to me, be without snagging up on the bottom. So I might fish a lighter fly with less weight or a more water resistant fly to allow a more subtle or natural drop or retrieve. When I'm getting into those deeper buckets or deeper runs, I'm going to put a streamer down on the bottom as fast as I can that it still looks natural, but then crawl the bottom and maybe have a shorter retrieve, have a retrieve that I am in tension with, almost like a tight line approach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the weight depends on what's in front of you, but use it all.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty stubborn about overweighting. If I'm going to go over or under on a small stream, I'll go over. And you might think well, why? Like, it's a small stream. It's going to get down there. Not always the case. We got some pretty high gradient and some pretty big flows, and it's just pushing the fly downstream, especially if there's any, if the water is up a little bit. But even if it's just at average flows, I want to get down there a lot of times with my streamer. And once it's down there, I can animate it. And I don't want it to take 4 seconds to drop, 4 or 5 seconds to drop, because my drift's over. I like working with weight. I do. I like working with weight when it comes to nymphs, and I like working with weight in these streamers and in big rivers too. But I'm not worried about putting extra weight into a streamer, but it might be heavier than maybe what people would expect because I can do more with it. I love to just kind of hold it next to a log. Just hold it.
Yeah.
I will let it sit on the bottom for a second. Then I'll pick it up and let it drop and pick it up and let it drop. And you know what? I don't care if it gets hung up because I can walk that 10 steps up there and go get it. It's rare that you're getting to a spot on a small stream where you can't really go get your fly back. So, and I'm moving upstream anyway, so I don't care. And I'll take my chances around that structure. It's fun. We talk about target practice all the time, and that's what it is with streamers too.
I guess maybe something to mention, but the heavier those flies are, sometimes the more impact they will have when they land in the water. So a disadvantage to that sometimes is when you make that cast, if you have a big sudden splash, you can just have a bunch of fish dart away.
Austin, when you're looking for the 30-inch trout, that splash is going to attract them.
Sometimes.
They're the dominant species in the county.
Sometimes. The dinner bell.
Dinner belt, come and get it. That's what I'm aiming for. Either that, or if I tuck it in there hard enough, I can knock them on the head.
I just go scoop them up.
They go belly up, run downstream, and look what I caught.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's different things. You weren't thinking about that, were you?
No. That's advanced.
You're only 30. I have 20 more years of tricks up my sleeve. I'm not saying, by the way, that I'm always using heavier flies. I'm saying I'm not afraid to. And I'm kind of stubborn about getting the presentations, getting the fly right where I want it. I like doing that. I like knowing exactly where it is. So we'll talk about leaders and rigs here in just a second. But staying on these flies, I use a lot of lead ball jigs. I know like tungsten bead heads on jig hooks are real popular these days. That's a great option too. But nothing really ticks and taps that bottom better than a lead ball jig. It's got to be legal in your state too. And don't chew on it. Don't swallow it. You're not supposed to do that.
Troutbitten safety tip.
Safety tip. Just trying to keep everybody safe out there. Fishing's a dangerous sport. Don't eat the lead. No, I build a lot of my small stream stuff and big river stuff on lead ball jigs. I don't know about a lot, but I have them in my box. I use them quite a bit. I like using them. They get the job done. Medium cone heads and stuff with smaller beads is great too. Hey, I was thinking about this. I want to use Deli's Grinch on small streams.
Yeah.
Since Deli kind of introduced the Grinch to us a year and a half ago, maybe, right? Maybe it's been a little bit longer. I still haven't spent much time at all on smaller streams just hitting that A-water with that very unique fly.
It's probably because you like to fish overweighted flies, right? And overweighted flies perform incredibly different than the Grinch does.
That's why I say
that's what I'm saying.
Opposite.
Like if that can be a really good fly to cover water with too, especially if you don't have like a lot of deep great water to put heavy flies through, the Grinch is an awesome choice. Or, a water-resistant fly or something that doesn't get really heavy and sink on its own. Yeah, the Grinch is fun. I do like that in small streams. I've fished it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you catch any 30s?
Well, I can't tell you that.
Oh.
Yep.
Never mind. We'll move on then. How about fly rods?
Same. Well, no, it's not the same rod. I like 4-weight when I'm streamer fishing. Yeah.
Well, you were 3-weight on the other stuff.
Yeah. So a little bit more. I have an 8-foot 4-weight that I like to take out. If I'm only going to do streamer fishing on smaller streams, I can usually get away with that. It's just a little bit bigger than my standard small stream rod.
So if I know I'm going to fish streamers the whole time, or even most of the time, 9-foot 5-weight for me. 9-foot allows me to keep the line off the water when I want to. If I'm going to tight line, talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
And the 5-weight, it's not about turnover. It isn't. Everything's going to turn. I think turnover is widely misunderstood in our industry. It's going to turn over because it's weight. You could throw it with anything. You could throw it with your hand and it's going to turn over, right? It's going to go. It's going to get out to where you throw it. That's great. It's weight.
Yeah.
It's more about like how much does that rod flex on the back cast?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to wait for that rod to flex. And you do lose power if the rod wasn't built to, handle that much weight. It flexes so much when it comes forward. It doesn't have that much snap and punch and that. And the fly's still going to go where you want it. But where does the leader and the tippet go? We talk about that a lot. The other thing, and the reason I choose a 5-weight is because I'm catching those 30s, Austin. And when I have to, and when I hook one in a small stream, you got to be the boss. I'm not kidding around. Seriously, like at 15, 16-inch trout, I'd be really happy catching that. You get into what we're calling bigs, a little bigger than that. You have to be the boss.
Pull them out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've lost way too many fish in structure, whether it's a log pile or undercut bank or just gone into a pile of rocks or something and around the rocks or down, downstream and getting, it's a mess.
Yeah.
As soon as I hook a big trout, I'm like, it's on.
Right.
You're coming in like 10 seconds, if that, right? I'm moving to the fish and it should be like a muskie fight. Done.
Yeah. I guess I would maybe change my answer, but I was kind of answering that in the idea of just fishing streamers for, whatever might eat that day. But if my intention or my purpose is to catch one large trout, then yeah. 5, hey, take a 6-weight if you want.
Well, again, I think like if I'm dedicating much time to the streamer, that's one of the reasons why. It's what I said from the top.
Yeah.
Like that's my main reason is so let me really see if I can move a big fish out of here. This river might have them. Whatever. That's why I'd choose the 5-weight. You go 6-weight. I just don't think it's necessary. Yeah. But it depends. If you have it, fish it. Thing with the 9-foot 5-weight, I can still do anything else I want with that rod.
Yeah,
I'll nymph with it. I'll throw nymphs of all sizes with it, and I'll fish dries with it. Obviously,
I feel like you can get around pretty well with the 9-foot rod without getting too crammed. That's pushing it for me.
It is. I know what you mean. 8.5, 9-foot would be my choice. I've spent a lot of time. I might do it tomorrow with the 8.5-foot 5-weight. That was the only rod that I used to own that was half decent.
Yeah.
So that's the one I fished in tight cover, and. Oh, I guess I've always thought of it this way. If you know where the rod tip is, you can cast in any cover. If you have control over the rod tip, if you know where it is in space, good. Doesn't matter how tight everything is. Move around till you can just control that rod tip. I make it sound easy, and I'm not saying it is. But yeah, I get your point.
Yeah,
I get your point. In the tightest cover, no, I don't want a 9-footer.
That's where the big ones live, though.
What do you mean?
The big ones live in tight cover.
That's
why
right.
You never catch them.
You're going to catch them with your 4-foot rod, your 4.5-foot rod. 4 foot, 11 inches. That's your specialty small stream rod. So we should talk about leaders. We all know that the leader is the most important thing in the system. Everybody knows that, Austin.
That's true. If you don't, you do now.
I don't think everybody agrees with that, but that's what we think. Anyway, this leader talk will lead us on to the more tactical stuff. So you can absolutely have plenty of success, plenty of fun, just tying a streamer onto your small stream leader and using fly line. I'll do it once in a while. I don't like it much anymore, but you can get all kinds of presentations with that. Although if you want weight in the streamer so it gets down, or you're using split shot or whatever, now you're casting the weight of the streamer and the weight of the fly line, and there's a leader in between. So you're kind of casting 3 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of drives me nuts because we're so used to casting a mono rig where you're just basically casting the fly and the leader doesn't weigh really that much. So if you have the fly line and the fly like that, There's two very different things that are both weighted and they're in tight quarters. It's not real elegant. It's just not my favorite choice. Plenty of people out there, I'm sure, do like it. And I can handle it. I just don't like it as much because I know how to fish a mono rig in small waters and in almost any waters. I think with a mono rig, I have that ultimate control over every variable that we talked about in that streamer presentation skills series. Every variable, like speed and head direction and lane, having lane discipline, all that stuff. And I'm going to use all the presentations that we talked about in that 10-part skills series. I'm going to use many of them anyway. And I have all of that at my fingertips when I have just direct control to the head of the fly. Those variables, like those options, I should say too, can almost be overwhelming. I'm saying like, I'm going to use them all. Well, if you know them all and you're used to them all, then you just go out there without even thinking about it too much and you fish them. But when I started using a mono rig on a small stream, well, on any stream with streamers, I remember going, man, you can move the fly this way and that way. And you just realize how many things are open, like how many options are open to you. That's what I mean by it can kind of be overwhelming. Besides, I don't think you need that, especially on a small stream. Pick one or two of your favorite motions and try to dial them in. You try to do too much in this small water, and you're going to get tangled up. You're going to get hooked up in the trees and all that stuff. Don't try to get too fancy at first, right?
Yeah, right on.
So I think this is kind of what tightline anglers are missing the most with their Euro nymphing rigs, with the Euro rigs. And ultralight nymphing setup is kind of what Euro nymphing has become. And it's not ready for this. That ultralight setup is not ready for streamer fishing like this. You can drift and jig small streamers in these places on these small waters. But you have way more options with a more stout leader setup that's crisp casting, and with you can put more motions into the streamer. You're also ready then to catch a big fish. You know what I mean? I don't like to get real specialized, is all I'm saying. So I'd use a standard mono rig build, although I use a thin leader build that I call a crossover leader a lot too. In the small stream, I want to preserve that power. So for me, I'm using a standard mono rig. What about you? So Troutbitten listeners already know the crew's favorite beer is Broken Heel's Hazy IPA from New Trail Brewing Company. But our friends at New Trail are hard at work developing our next favorites. Each one is like a different fly pattern because some fit your current situation better than others. Like this one they call 24/7 because it's the beer we could drink 365, crafted to go anywhere, anytime. 24/7's light body and low alcohol make it a must-have when you've got day-long plans but still want full IPA flavor. Then there's Trail Marker West Coast IPA, inspired by classic pine and orange flavor. Trail Marker is brilliantly clear, nicely bitter, and available in two varieties, West Coast IPA and Imperial IPA. You can bet the Troutbitten crew will mix these styles into the cooler with Broken Heels. So check out newtrailbrewingcompany.com to find retailers near you or on the way to the river.
Yeah, I use a standard, or maybe what I would call like a medium. I fish a 15-pound butt. Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
But another reason I love to, and I agree with you there, because I really enjoy fishing a mono rig on small streams. One reason being is you can make pretty far casts without a lot of effort, especially if you have weight in the fly. So on a standard fly line cast, if you want to reach a certain distance, well, you're going to have a certain amount of line off the reel and ready to go, and potential fair amount of fly line also out on the water.
Yeah.
With a mono rig streamer cast, if you have a sufficient amount of weight, you can pull that leader off the reel,
right? Make
one back cast and shoot it all out upstream of you.
Yeah.
And you can keep that line off the water sometimes, or you can leave it on. There's not a fly line that you're lining fish maybe more with. And you can pick it up as you go, and you have all that control you're talking about. But that's another reason I also enjoy it.
Yeah. Now you said one back cast. The truth is, once you get that line out there and then you're stripping it back in, and you can keep that as you retrieve it with loops in your hand. And then all you really need to do is pitch it back out there. You don't even need a back cast because you have enough weight in the streamer. You can send it out there like a rooster tail, like a lure, whatever.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. You
can send it right out there because it has weight. And all you're really doing right there that's why we often call the mono rig a hybrid system. It is. You're throwing a lure out there, zing it across the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the truth.
Hybrid system. So another kind of hybrid thing, last thing we really want to touch on here is what we call the crossover technique. So big trout will eat a streamer. All trout will eat a streamer, but they'll also eat a well-placed nymph if it's the right size. Nobody is ever going to convince me that big trout just are going to eat, 5-inch things. I mean, the average size of bait fish is like 2 to 3 inches.
I'm with you, buddy.
Same with crayfish. They're not eating
Yeah.
those big lobsters in there as much as they're eating, the baby ones, the smaller ones. So 1.5 to maybe 3 inches is my favorite fly size for big trout. And I don't care if I'm on a small stream or a large stream. And I'll go a little bigger on the biggest water sometimes, especially from a boat, seeing if I can move fish, all that. But if I really, really want to buckle down and try to catch a big trout, I'm serious. 1.5 to 3 inches is my favorite fly size. And I didn't say streamer size, I said fly size. So I think you can do a very similar thing with a bigger stonefly or
crayfish pattern.
there you go.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this crossover concept a lot through the years, and it kind of bridges the gap between streamer fishing and nymph fishing. We have a full episode about that, and I have articles about it. Again, I'll leave links. But I have a streamer and a nymph on the line. And that streamer, again, is not going to be, for me, it's not going to be more than 3 inches because they're going to get a good chance to see it. I'm going to give them time with slower presentations, usually, when I'm doing what I think of as the crossover. I'm not moving my streamer a whole bunch. I'm doing subtle motions to that streamer. And then, because the nymph is on there and it's not moving a whole lot, they'll whack that a lot of times too. I could either tag that nymph up above or I could trail it behind the streamer. But it's about combining the best of both worlds. And it's a really fun thing to do in all waters. For me, I love it. It's good in small streams.
Yeah. And depending on how much space you have, you can go back and forth. You can start with a streamer approach, and then you can move into a nymphing approach. And then if you have space below you, you can finish it back in a streamer approach again.
Oh, you're saying without changing flies. Right.
Yeah, without changing within one drift.
Yeah, right.
If you have the space, you can do all that in one.
Yeah.
It is really fun.
It is. So the jig streamer trend has been, I think pretty eye-opening for a lot of tightline anglers.
Yeah,
And,
it's true.
It's kind of new, let's say, in the industry for what's popular in the magazines and stuff. But I mean, people have been doing this for a long time. And I think anybody that picks up a tight line and starts nymphing, right away you go, wonder what I could do with a streamer. So I don't really love the term jig streamer because I think it kind of leads people to thinking like, well, I got to jig these things. I don't jig them that much. And you and I, we don't build them on jig hooks all the time.
No.
I just take a lot of my favorite streamer patterns and make sure they have a heavy head usually. And it doesn't have to be on a jig hook, doesn't have to be a ball jig, whatever. Could be a cone head. Make sure it's heavy enough. Sometimes I want that actual jig, like the rocking motion where the head tilts way down and then back up when it's under tension, and then back up or back down when you let off the tension. That's cool too. But I'm usually looking for a flatter profile, let's say, in the water. I don't necessarily want that rocking motion back and forth.
I think there is I don't know if misconception is the right word there, but people feel pretty locked in to that strict jigging motion when they tie those flies. It's like, I'm tying this fly because I'm going to jig it only. And I'm going to do the same retrieve all the time. And if that doesn't work, then that fly isn't doing what it's designed for.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, I probably jig those flies. I'm with you. The least, a pure jig up and down, up and down. I don't do that a whole lot. I've got a little bit more motion, maybe more, and sometimes less motion. A dead drift or a stall with a little twitch. Those big jigs, I'm not usually imparting as my first go-to.
No. Yeah, I fish them like real streamers. I just give them every animation that I would think of and see what happens. And I'll fish them with big motions, but usually if I got this crossover mindset, I'm trying to be very subtle.
Yeah.
But I don't just dead drift them. I see a lot of people doing that too, and I guide a lot, and that's where a lot of my reference point comes from. And I guide a lot of really good anglers. And they'll say, I'm going to streamer fish now. And they put a 1 inch, and I'm not kidding, sometimes it's getting down to the point now where guys are calling a streamer, a 1 inch fly, and they're seriously just dead drifting it.
That's because it's tight lining, right?
Right. They're tight lining it, but I'm just saying, that's not streamer fishing. Call it what you will, but it's a nymph at that point. Well, you said you'll dead drift a little bit, but we like to kind of establish a dead drift and then animate out of that and everything. I mean,
and it comes back to weight again, right? Like you can tie a jig fly super light. That's not really going to jig.
Good point. Yeah.
But you could tie a medium weighted jig fly and retrieve it all sorts of different ways that are not limiting.
Good call. So let's wrap this section up by let me ask, if you had to pick one streamer, how about two? Because I don't want to just pick one. How about one streamer for regular streamer fishing and one for the crossover? What do you got?
Regular streamer fishing. I love the jigless jiggy.
I knew you were going with that.
Craft
It's a craft
jigless
fur.
jiggy.
Yeah. We have a video about that.
I've really been digging the is that Egan's Poacher?
I know, right? That's a
Yeah.
cool fly.
This past spring. Yeah, I know
That'd
you
be
were
your
fishing them
crossover?
too. Yeah, that'd be the crossover fly. Really have enjoyed that fly and just like the platform of that fly in general.
Yeah, that's a unique fly. Lance Egan's Poacher. That's a recent addition to my box. I'd use a half pint for my, let's say, regular streamer. And for a crossover, I'm going to say that pheasant bugger. Gunnar Brammer's pheasant
cool.
bugger.
Yeah.
I just keep using that more and more.
Yeah.
I do have a high confidence rate in just drifting that. I mean, and then just subtle animations, or they'll eat it when I'm moving it pretty good too. I've got a lot of fish on that.
You put the orange bead on that?
Not always.
No?
About half the time.
But
I'll
you
fish it
do.
with you.
Yeah. Somewhat frequently.
Mm-hmm. It started
That's
for me. I
different,
always
too.
had the orange bead. Now
Yeah.
I'll have coffee colored beads or copper beads on it.
Big coffee guy.
Big coffee guy. They all
Yeah.
chip off. If I mean it out there.
Seriously.
If anybody can give me a link, tell me where I can buy beads where the finish won't chip off. Stuff like the coffee colors and, or copper beads that won't tarnish. Yes, please.
Or beads in actual bulk,
Which would
other
be,
than 100 packs.
oh, you want like 1,000?
Point us to 1,000 packs.
Wow.
Yeah. We could split that up.
You're going to be a distributor. Austin.
I've
Selling dime bags of beads.
I've tried to do that, and I've reached out to some companies overseas, and then I give them a quantity, and they're like, "Yeah, unless you're gonna buy like 10,000, we can't do business." I'm like, "Well, I can't do that."
Jeez. Start your
So-
own business.
Yeah, small time distributor. Get in touch.
Okay. Anything else, Austin? I mean, how can we actually find those 2-footers? Lead us to the 2-footers. What's the secret?
Okay. First thing you're gonna need to do is go to the store. Okay, pet
Which-
store.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're gonna buy a 50-pound bag of kibble.
All right.
Now you're gonna locate a small stream.
Uh-huh.
All right. You're going to build a dam. You're going to feed said fish in small stream till you have yourself a 2-footer. That's how you do it. So I figured we should share.
Feed them hot dogs.
Hot dogs work sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they get bored of the kibble, you got to go to the hot dog.
That's what I heard.
Yep. Cycle. I like variety.
All right. There it is. Bigger trout and streamers on small streams. So much of the enjoyment of small stream exploration is in the mystery. The eternal hope of every good fisherman makes it easy for us to believe that there's a trout in the next small stream that's at least twice as big as anything we've ever seen out of there. Maybe 3 times as big. And if you want to easily sort through the tittlers and cover water while hiking a watery path upstream, fishing streamers in the ways we talked about here is a great way to answer some of your questions about what lies beneath. Because even a drive-by from a real river monster is enough to inspire that hope and belief for a long, long time. So, streamer fishing on small waters is always an option, regardless of the size of trout you hope to catch. It's just another skill in a full set for a versatile fly angler. Hey, next time we're wrapping up the Small Stream Skills series with some stories and we're answering a lot of your questions. So send them in and we'll cover as many as we can. Sir Austin K. Dando, will you read us out?
So remember, the Troutbitten Project is a free resource for all anglers. The Troutbitten website hosts over 1,500 articles, videos, and podcasts with endless stories, commentaries, tactics, tips, and more. Find what you like through the top menu and through the search page, and navigate by way of the categories and tags too. Be sure to find the Troutbitten YouTube channel, now featuring the Troutbitten Tip Series, the Fly Fishing the Model Rig, and the Troutbitten Fly Box, all in collaboration with Wilds Media. You'll also find the Fish and Film videos and the new Riverside series, all in their own playlists on Troutbitten YouTube. Thank you for listening to the Troutbitten Podcast. Please give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a comment, because that really helps. Till next time, friends, fish hard, enjoy the day, and find your life on the water. plugged in? Is it turned on? Is it turned up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Renee Witzke.
Mm-hmm.